The medical bay smelled of antiseptic and fear. Wren sat across from three historians who had traveled from the Galactic Council's central archives to record his testimony. His scales, once a brilliant blue, had faded to dull gray over the years. The trauma suppressors attached to his temples hummed softly, keeping his vital signs stable enough for the interview. The lead historian, an elderly creature with too many eyes, adjusted the recording equipment and nodded for him to begin. "You want to know about humans," Wren said, his voice hoarse from disuse. "Everyone does. They hear the stories and think we exaggerate. They think fear made us see monsters where there were only another species with ships and weapons." He laughed bitterly. "I wish that were true." The historians exchanged glances. The youngest one, barely past her molting age, leaned forward with obvious skepticism. "Your species conquered 47 star systems," she said. "Your military was considered unstoppable. How could one encounter with humans destroy an empire?" Wren closed his eyes. The memories always came back in flashes. Burning ships, screaming. The terrible moment when he realized everything his people believed about warfare was wrong. "We were proud," he began. "The Vorthan Empire had crushed every species that opposed us. Our tactics were perfect, our technology superior, our warriors fearless." He paused. "Then we found Earth. The initial scans had been promising. A world tearing itself apart with wars, pollution choking the atmosphere, inequality dividing its people into countless factions. The Vorthan High Command had laughed. These humans couldn't even unite their own planet. They would fall within days. 300 warships seemed excessive for such primitive prey. But the Emperor wanted to make an example. Wanted the galaxy to see what happened to species who occupied space the Vorthan desired. I was a tactical officer aboard the flagship Dominance." Wren continued. "My role was to analyze enemy patterns and predict their movements. I had never failed, never even struggled." He looked down at his clawed hands. "Humans taught me what failure meant." The human defenders appeared on their sensors like scattered debris, mismatched vessels cobbled together from military surplus, converted cargo haulers, even civilian pleasure craft mounted with weapons that looked barely functional. The Vorthan fleet commander had actually laughed over the open channel. Wren remembered that laugh, remembered thinking this would be over before the evening meal. The battle began with standard suppression tactics. Overwhelming firepower designed to break enemy morale and force immediate surrender. Vorthan doctrine stated that most species fled after losing 10% of their forces. Humans lost 30 ships in the first exchange. Not a single vessel retreated. Instead, they tightened their formation, moving to protect damaged ships while maintaining return fire. "That's when I noticed something wrong," Wren said. "Our intelligence predicted panic, chaos, every ship fleeing for survival. Instead, they moved like they'd trained together for years, like they knew exactly what each other would do." He tapped his temple. "I pulled their communication logs. No central command, no hierarchy, just individuals coordinating, adapting, protecting each other. One moment stood out in perfect clarity. A human cargo ship, engines failing, life support critical. Vorthan fighters moved in for the kill, standard procedure. Eliminate the weak. Before they could fire, 3 human vessels broke formation. 2 were military cruisers that abandoned tactical positions to shield the cargo ship. The 3rd was a medical transport, completely unarmed. It flew directly into the line of fire. The Vorthan fighters hesitated, confused by such illogical behavior. In that moment of hesitation, the human military ships disabled them. The medical transport docked with the damaged cargo vessel and began evacuating crew. The whole operation took 90 seconds. 90 seconds where humans sacrificed tactical advantage to save 37 crew members on a ship that contributed nothing to the battle. "We don't fight like that," Wren explained to the historians. "No species does. You protect assets, strategic positions, important vessels. You don't risk cruisers to save a cargo hauler. You certainly don't send unarmed medical ships into active combat." He shuddered. "But humans do. Every single time." The engagement lasted 7 hours. By the end, the Vorthan fleet had lost 40 ships. Not destroyed by superior weapons or technology, destroyed by tactics that made no sense. Humans used debris fields as cover, crashed damaged vessels into Vorthan formations, coordinated attacks that required some ships to sacrifice themselves so others could strike. Every move defied standard doctrine. Every decision prioritized lives over victory. When the Vorthan commander finally ordered retreat, Rin watched something that would haunt him forever. A human rescue vessel, small and lightly armed, ignored the fleeing Vorthan ships. Instead, it moved through the battlefield debris, searching, finding Vorthan survivors in escape pods, pulling them to safety, treating their wounds. The crew could have pursued, could have claimed easy kills. They chose mercy instead. I pulled the communication logs from that rescue ship, Rin said quietly. The captain was arguing with someone. Someone wanted her to leave the Vorthan survivors, to focus on human casualties. She refused, said her job was saving lives. All lives? Even enemies. He met the lead historian's gaze. That's when I knew we hadn't encountered warriors. We found something far more dangerous. The youngest historian scoffed. Mercy is dangerous? Ren smiled without humor. A species that fights because they refuse to abandon each other, that treats even enemies with compassion, that coordinates without command, that sacrifices without hesitation. He leaned forward. Yes, that is the most dangerous thing in the galaxy, because you can't break them, can't make them flee, can't make them choose survival over each other. The historians sat in silence. Finally, the lead one spoke. What happened next? High Command sent reinforcements, Ren said. 600 additional warships. They refused to accept defeat from primitives. His expression darkened. That's when things got worse. Ren's hands trembled as he continued his testimony. The medical monitors attached to him began flashing warnings, but he waved away the concerned medic. Some memories demanded to be shared, no matter the cost. 3 days after our retreat, High Command decided to change tactics, he said. They chose a target that would break human spirit. A mining colony on a moon-orbiting Titan. 50,000 civilians, mostly families. The historians leaned closer. The youngest one's earlier skepticism had vanished, replaced by genuine interest. Why target civilians? She asked. Because we didn't understand, Ren replied. We thought humans would behave rationally, trade lives for surrender, protect their weak by sacrificing their military. He laughed bitterly. We were so wrong. The Vorthan invasion force descended expecting token resistance. Military doctrine suggested civilian populations evacuated when threatened. Instead, the colonists stayed. Every single one, children and elderly, moved into deep shelters while everyone else took defensive positions. Ren had been assigned to ground forces as punishment for suggesting retreat earlier. The command wanted him to see firsthand how easily humans broke. The landing parties touched down in the main colony center. Prefabricated buildings clustered around massive mining operations. The surface was airless, freezing, hostile to organic life without environmental suits, perfect for a quick victory. The Vorthan troops advanced in standard formation, expecting either surrender or scattered resistance. What they got was organized hell. The first squads never saw what hit them. Drilling lasers, designed to cut through solid rock, punched through Vorthan armor like paper. Excavation charges, meant for breaking up asteroids, detonated in perfect ambush patterns. Industrial lifters became mobile weapons platforms. Humans had converted every tool in the colony into instruments of war. I watched a teacher coordinate defensive fire patterns, Ren said, his voice distant with memory. She was protecting a school turned into a bunker. Used classroom terminals to hack our tactical network. Fed false sensor data. Made us think we were facing military units when it was civilians with mining equipment. He shook his head in wonder. A teacher. She taught children mathematics, and she nearly wiped out my entire squad. The Vorthan commander grew frustrated, ordered more aggressive tactics. They had numbers, superior weapons, military training. But humans had something else. They had intimate knowledge of their own territory. A botanist used understanding of local terrain to create ambush points. Collapsed ice formations to trap Vorthan units, led them into areas where their equipment malfunctioned. Engineers proved even more dangerous. They knew every tunnel, every passage, every structural weakness. When Vorthan troops pursued them underground, entire sections collapsed, not randomly, with perfect precision, trapping squads in pockets where rescue was impossible. The humans didn't even need to fight them, just left them sealed until they surrendered or died. But what broke Ren's understanding came during the third day of fighting. His squad cornered a group of defenders in a habdome near the colony's edge. Thermal scans showed 5 signatures. When they breached, they found a pregnant woman, 2 wounded miners, and a teenage boy. The tactical computer classified them as non-threats. The squad commander ordered immediate execution, standard procedure for occupied territories. Before the order could be carried out, alarm screamed. Human reinforcements approaching. Ren expected military units. Instead, his sensors showed civilians, families, parents, siblings, friends of the trapped defenders. They charged Vorthan positions with improvised weapons. Some carried nothing but tools. They should have been slaughtered, should have been driven back by superior firepower. They weren't, because they didn't care about dying, only about reaching their people. A mother threw herself on a Vorthan soldier's weapon so her daughter could escape. An elderly man detonated his own oxygen supply to collapse a tunnel on an advancing squad. A child no older than 10 dragged a wounded miner to safety while plasma fire turned the ice around them into steam. I watched a teenage boy carry that pregnant woman out of the habdome. Ren said softly. He was bleeding from 3 wounds. His environmental suit was compromised. He was dying. But he kept moving, kept protecting her. Even when my squad commander ordered him shot, he used his own body as a shield. Ren's voice broke. He died saving her. Never even knew her name. Just knew she needed help. The Vorthan troops began refusing orders, not out of cowardice but confusion. They were trained to fight soldiers, to crush military resistance, not to kill civilians who fought like family defending family. Intercepted human communications, showed them encouraging each other, sharing resources, volunteering for suicide missions. One transmission haunted Ren. A wounded miner refusing medical priority, insisting more critical cases go first, saying his injury could wait while others needed help more. Even more disturbing were the human prisoners. Instead of begging for mercy or demanding rights, they try to help. One human doctor, captured while treating wounded, asked to assist with Vorthan casualties, said medical ethics required treating all wounded, even enemies. The Vorthan medical staff didn't know how to respond. They'd never encountered an enemy who offered help. Our commander finally ordered withdrawal, Ren said. Not because we were losing militarily. We still had superior numbers and firepower, but because the troops couldn't maintain morale, couldn't fight an enemy that treated captured Vorthan soldiers with more compassion than our own empire showed its citizens. The historians sat in shocked silence. Finally one spoke. But surely your fleet still had overwhelming force. Couldn't you have simply destroyed the colony from orbit? Ren's expression turned dark. That's exactly what High Command ordered. He met their eyes. They decided to make an example. Broadcast an ultimatum to all human forces. Surrender or watch 50,000 colonists die. He paused. The human response arrived within minutes. A single word transmitted on all frequencies. What word? The youngest historian asked. No, Ren said simply. Then we learned what happens when you make humans angry. The lead historian requested additional security clearance before Ren continued. What came next? Ren had warned, explained why the Vorthan Empire no longer existed as a unified power. The recording equipment was upgraded, additional safeguards activated. Ren waited patiently, his expression distant, reliving horrors from 3 decades past. The bombardment began exactly 6 hours after the human rejection, Ren said. I watched from the flagship observation deck. Vorthan weapons designed to crack planetary crusts, meant for destroying worlds that refuse subjugation, unleashed on a single mining colony. His voice carried no emotion. Shock had burned it away long ago. The colony shields held for 11 minutes, then failed. The first strike killed an estimated 12,000 people instantly. The youngest historian made a sound of distress. Her species valued all life. The thought of such casual slaughter clearly disturbed her. "Why would your command do this?" she asked. "To prove a point," Ren replied. "To show the galaxy what happened to species who defied Vorthan authority. To break human resistance once and for all." He smiled without humor. "They broke something, just not what they intended." Within 4 hours of the bombardment, human ships began arriving. Not an organized military response, but something far more terrifying. Individual vessels answering a call that had gone out across human space. Cargo haulers retrofitted with weapons, science vessels. Carrying improvised missiles. Pleasure craft loaded with marines. Even a restaurant supply ship converted into a bomber. They came from everywhere. From Earth, from Mars, from colonies scattered across dozens of systems. Vorthan intelligence analyzed the fleet composition with growing confusion. These weren't soldiers. Crew manifests showed teachers, doctors, engineers, artists, retirees. A grandmother piloting a freight hauler armed with mining charges. A chef coordinating targeting solutions. From his converted ship. A librarian commanding a science vessel jury-rigged with weapons. They had no business in a war zone. Yet they came anyway. "I monitored their communications," Ren said. "There was no central command, no hierarchy, just humans sharing coordinates, organizing spontaneously. One transmission said they killed our people. We're going to make them pay." Another said, "Hold the line until everyone arrives." A third said, "This ends now." He met the historian's eyes. They weren't coordinating. They were grieving, mourning, and channeling that grief into absolute fury. The battle began with the human fleet outnumbered 3-1. Vorthan Command expected another quick victory. Perhaps humans would fight harder, motivated by revenge, but superior numbers always won. That's what every tactical simulation showed. Every historical analysis supported. The simulations were wrong. Humans fought with precision that shouldn't have been possible from untrained civilians. Every ship moved like it knew exactly where others would be. Cargo haulers provided cover, while science vessels launched precision strikes. Medical ships evacuated casualties under fire, while restaurant supply ships dropped improvised bombs on Vorthan formations. It was chaos. Beautiful, terrible chaos. And it was working. But what truly horrified Ren was the ruthlessness. Humans who had shown mercy before now showed none. They didn't retreat, didn't negotiate, didn't accept surrender. Every Vorthan ship that survived the initial engagement found itself hunted, harassed, destroyed. It wasn't warfare. It was extermination. Ren's flagship came under attack by a coordinated strike force. 5 human vessels, none military, working together with the precision of a scalpel. Shields failed. Hull breaches on 7 decks. Life support compromised. The crew prepared for slaughter when humans breached. Instead, they methodically secured the ship, evacuated Vorthan survivors to escape pods, showed the same mercy they demonstrated in the first battle. A human woman, her uniform marked with medical insignia, found Ren in the debris of the tactical center. She was older, perhaps 50 standard years, with eyes that carried deep sadness. "You're not wounded," she observed, scanning him with medical equipment. "Come with me. We're evacuating survivors." "Why?" Ren demanded. "We killed your people, massacred civilians. Why show mercy?" The woman, her name tag read Diane, looked at him with an expression he couldn't interpret. "Because we're not like you," she said simply. "We don't kill the defenseless. That's what separates us from monsters." But her hand shook as she said it. Rage barely contained beneath the surface. She led him to an escape pod where other Vorthan survivors waited. Before sealing the hatch, Ren asked the question that had haunted him since the first encounter. "What makes you different? Why do you fight like this?" Diane paused. "We evolved on a world that tried to kill us every day," she said. "Ice ages, plagues, predators, disasters. We survived by forming bonds stronger than any other species, by refusing to let each other die alone." She met his eyes. "When you attacked that colony, you didn't hurt soldiers. You hurt our family. Every human is family." She activated the pod. "We'll destroy every military vessel you have, but we won't murder survivors. Remember that when you tell your people what happened here, Humans don't fight for conquest. We fight to protect our own. The escape pod launched. Rin watched through the viewport as the battle continued. The human fleet lost 60% of its ships, but the Vorthan fleet ceased to exist. Every vessel destroyed or captured. Survivors released in escape pods with coordinates to neutral stations. Humans could have killed them all. Instead, they ensured survival. Hours later, rescued by a Vorthan patrol, Rin learned the final casualty. Count: 30,000 colonists dead. 200,000 humans killed in the battle. An entire Vorthan fleet destroyed. And somehow, despite everything, the humans had let the survivors go. That's when I understood, Rin told the historians. Humanity's true power isn't their weapons or tactics. It's that they fight with the fury of a species that refused extinction, but that same drive makes them protect the helpless. Even enemies. He paused. Diane promised me something before I left. Said if the Vorthan Empire ever threatened humans again, there would be no mercy, no survivors, no memory we ever existed. An empty threat. One historian said dismissively. Ren shook his head. 2 weeks later, a human delegation arrived at our homeworld. What they did next proved the threat was very real. Medical staff administered stronger sedatives as Ren's vital signs spiked. The memories of what came next still triggered trauma responses despite 3 decades of therapy. He waited until the medication took effect before continuing, his words slightly slurred but determined. The human delegation arrived exactly 14 days after the battle, he said. Single, unarmed vessel. Requested permission to land on the Vorthan homeworld. High Command debated destroying it immediately, but they didn't, the lead historian prompted. I advised against it, Ren admitted. I'd returned home, given reports on human capabilities. Most called me traumatized, unreliable, but some listened. Enough to allow the humans to land. He closed his eyes. I wish they hadn't. What followed was worse than any battle. 3 humans disembarked at the Imperial Palace. An older man who moved with quiet authority, a woman carrying scientific equipment, and a young man who seemed almost bored by the 10,000 elite guards surrounding them. The Vorthan Emperor sat on his throne, radiating power and contempt. The humans showed no fear. They simply waited for permission to speak. The older man, who introduced himself as Robert, presented evidence of Vorthan war crimes. Holographic displays showed the colony bombardment from multiple angles, civilian casualties counted and named, children's bodies recovered from the rubble. He did this calmly, clinically, as if discussing weather patterns. Then, he stated demands: formal apology, reparations to survivors, complete withdrawal from human space. The Emperor laughed. The sound echoed through the throne room. You dare make demands? Your fleet is destroyed. Your people mourn. You have no leverage. He leaned forward. I should have you executed for your insolence. Robert's expression never changed. We hoped you'd choose peace, he said simply, then nodded to the woman. Patricia, the scientist, stepped forward. She held a device no bigger than her fist. Vorthan guards raised weapons, but she merely activated a holographic display. What appeared made the Emperor's laughter die. Complete schematics of the Vorthan planetary. Defense grid. Every satellite, every defense platform, every military installation. All mapped with perfect accuracy. We've spent the last 2 weeks getting to know your systems, Patricia explained conversationally. Very impressive technology. Unfortunately, your encryption was designed to keep out conventional attacks. Humans don't attack conventionally. She expanded the display, showed satellite positions, orbital defense platforms, fleet deployments. We know where everything is, including this palace, including this room, including you. The throne room erupted in chaos. The Emperor demanded explanations. How was this possible? The Empire's military networks were impenetrable. Multiple layers of security, quantum encryption, the finest defensive programming in the galaxy. Patricia smiled. You built your systems to resist individual attackers. Humans don't work individually. She explained while Vorthan security staff frantically checked their networks. Thousands of human programmers, hackers, engineers had worked together, sharing information, solving problems collaboratively. What would take a single genius years to crack, humans accomplished in 11 days through coordinated effort. Every system compromised, every defense mapped, every weakness identified. This is impossible, the Vorthen security director declared. Our networks are isolated, compartmentalized. There's no way to access them all. The young man, Tim, finally spoke. You're right. Accessing them was impossible, he smiled. So we didn't access them. We replaced them. He pulled out a communicator, spoke a single word, lighthouse. Across the Vorthen homeworld, 12 military satellites simultaneously went offline. Not destroyed, reprogrammed. Each satellite broadcast the same message on all frequencies. This could have been a weapon. Then they came back online, functioning normally except for one change. Humans now had complete control. The throne room fell silent. The Emperor stared at the displays, showing his own military systems compromised. You're bluffing, he said, but his voice lacked conviction. Tim shrugged, reactivated the satellites with another command. Prove the point. We can shut down your entire defense grid right now, he said casually. Every satellite, every platform, every ship. We have access to all of it. He met the Emperor's eyes. We could have destroyed your civilization. Instead, we came to talk. That should tell you something about humans. Robert stepped forward again. We're offering you 3 choices. Accept our peace terms, and we withdraw. Our systems release control back to you. Normal relations resume. He paused. Refuse, and face total war with humanity. We will dismantle your empire piece by piece. Another pause. Or try to kill us. Learn what happens when you threaten humans who prepared for that possibility. The Emperor's rage was palpable. He ordered guards to seize the humans. Tim didn't move, didn't even look. Concerned, he simply activated his communicator again. Plan Sigma. Immediately, every display in the throne room lit up with targeting data. Human weapons platforms, hidden in orbit, locked onto the palace. Not just the building, specific rooms. The throne room showed 47 independent targeting solutions. Enough firepower to vaporize the entire complex. We really hoped you'd choose peace, Robert said sadly. But we prepared for this. He looked at the Emperor. Your guards can kill us. Our deaths are acceptable losses. But the moment we stop transmitting, those weapons fire. This palace becomes a crater. You, your council, your military command, all gone. He spread his hands. Or you can accept peace. Let us leave. And we all survive this day. The Vorthen Council, who had remained silent until now, began urgent discussions. They understood what the humans had done, proved they could destroy the Empire without firing a shot in battle, shown they had infiltrated every system, every defense, and still offered peace. The Emperor's face twisted with fury and fear. Why? He finally asked. Why show mercy if you have such power? Because we're not monsters, Robert replied. We fight to protect our people, not to conquer yours. Accept our terms, live in peace, or refuse and face extinction. The choice is yours. The council overruled the Emperor, accepted every demand. The humans left peacefully, and Ren watched his entire worldview collapse. Humans had won without destroying anything. Their restraint more terrifying than any weapon. The historian sat in stunned silence as Ren finished describing the human delegation's demonstration. Finally, the lead historian asked the question that had been building throughout the testimony. Why are you telling us this now? The Vorthen conflict was 30 years ago. Why does it matter today? Ren looked directly at the recording equipment. Because the Galactic Council is about to make the same mistake we did. He pulled out a data chip. I have evidence that council members are proposing military action to contain human expansion. They see humanity's growing influence as a threat. They want to establish blockades, restrict human colonization, perhaps even preemptive strikes. The youngest historian gasped. That's classified information. How do you know this? Because humans told me, Ren said simply. They monitor council communications. Have for years. They know about the proposal. They're waiting to see what the council decides. He leaned forward. I'm giving this testimony to prevent a catastrophe, to show what happens when you threaten humanity. He explained what had happened in the 30 years since the Vorthen conflict. Humans had grown rapidly, peacefully, establishing colonies through trade and cooperation. They now controlled 200 star systems, not through conquest, but through partnership. Other species wanted to work with humans, wanted to learn from them, wanted to join their growing coalition of equals. That's what terrifies the Council, Ren said. Not human military power, but their influence. Humans make other species question authority, challenge old hierarchies, demand rights and representation. He smiled. The Vorthan Empire collapsed within a year of our encounter. Not because humans destroyed it, but because our subject species saw us submit without battle. They realized we weren't invincible. 40 worlds rebelled. We couldn't stop them. He shared what he'd learned living among humans for 3 decades. He defected from the Vorthan military, unable to serve an empire that chose domination over cooperation, spent years studying human culture, psychology, behavior, married a human woman, raised half-human children, worked as a cultural liaison teaching others about humanity. My daughter was dying, Ren said, his voice thick with emotion. Genetic disorder. No Vorthan cure existed. Human medical teams spent 3 years developing treatment. 3 years of research, testing, trials. He pulled out a photo showing a young woman in a doctor's coat. They saved her life, not for profit or political favor, because no parent should lose a child. He looked at the historians. She's studying medicine now, wants to help others the way humans helped her. The lead historian studied the photo. You truly believe humans are different from other species? I know they are, Ren replied. I've watched them for 30 years, studied their history. Earth nearly destroyed itself a dozen times. Wars, plagues, environmental collapse. They survived by learning to cooperate, to value every individual, to refuse to abandon the weak. He paused. That survival instinct became their cultural foundation. Every human believes protecting others is worth dying for. Not just their own species, but anyone who needs help. He presented evidence of human integration with other species, showed footage of former Vorthan colonies where humans and Vorthan now work side by side. Human engineers teaching sustainable technology, human doctors providing medical aid during a plague outbreak, human teachers establishing educational exchanges, former enemies becoming partners, then friends. Humans taught us what civilization actually means, Ren said. Not conquest and domination, but cooperation and mutual benefit. The species we'd conquered for. Generations now work with us willingly because humans showed us another way. He displayed images of Vorthan children playing with human children on the rebuilt colony. This is humanity's true power. They make you want to be better, but he also showed evidence of what happened to those who threatened humans. Recent pirate attacks on human colonies. The pirates have been rescued from their damaged ships, arrested, tried fairly, imprisoned humanely, but their entire organization was dismantled. Within weeks, every member tracked down, every asset seized, every connection exposed. Humans showed mercy to individuals, but showed no mercy to threats. They always offer peace first, Ren explained. Always show compassion to defeated enemies, but they never forget threats to their people, never fail to eliminate those threats permanently. He met each historian's gaze. If the Council threatens humanity, humans will respond the same way they responded to us. Offer peace terms, demonstrate overwhelming capability, then offer peace again with harsher conditions. He laid out what would happen. Humans would expose Council weaknesses, prove they could destroy any military force sent against them, free subjugated species, and offer the Council a choice. Join a new galactic order based on cooperation, or fade into irrelevance. The existing power structure would collapse, replaced by a coalition led by human principles. But it doesn't have to be that way, Ren said. Humans don't want war. They want partnership. Imagine what galactic civilization could achieve with human cooperation. Their technology advances faster because they share knowledge freely. Their society is stable because they value every individual. They solve problems through collaboration that other species can't solve through force. The youngest historian asked, "Do you truly believe the Council will listen to this testimony?" Ren smiled sadly. "I don't know, but I had to try, because that's what humans would do." He stood. "They taught me that the measure of civilization isn't what you can destroy, but what you choose to build together. 3 months later, the Galactic Council voted. The military containment proposal was rejected. New initiatives passed instead: peaceful integration with humanity, cultural exchange programs, joint scientific ventures. Ren watched the announcement with his wife, tears streaming down his face. "Did we do the right thing?" she asked. "Yes," he replied. "We chose peace. We chose cooperation. We chose to learn from humans instead of fighting them." He looked at his daughter's photo. "We chose to build something better." The recording ended with Ren's final words: "Humanity's true power isn't fear. It's hope. The hope that we can all be better than we were. That we can build a future together instead of tearing each other apart." The More Than Human War was the only conflict. Humanity fought to total victory, and the only war that ended with both sides becoming allies. May it be the last war the galaxy ever sees.